So Paula, do you remember in the last video we made, we talked about paraphrasing, right? And do you remember what paraphrasing is? Okay, well, never mind. If you've forgotten about paraphrasing, like Paula, you can have a look at our last video. So just check the description below. Okay, so in that video, Paula, I talked about the need to paraphrase in both the IELTS exam and in academic writing. Okay, so we're going to look at the IELTS exam first and look at how you need to paraphrase in the IELTS exam. So we're going to look at a part 1 writing task. So let's have a look at that now. So this is a part 1 map writing task you can see on the screen. And you can see this is a sentence that we're going to try and paraphrase in our writing. Okay, so let's think about some strategies we can use to help us paraphrase. So the first one is obviously to use synonyms or words and phrases that have similar meanings. However, we also need to be careful that we don't change every word. So there are some words that we need to keep the same. Maybe they don't have a synonym. So we want to make sure we only change certain words. We also want to think about how we can change the sentence structure or word order, or maybe even the order of information. So thinking about grammar as well as vocabulary when we're paraphrasing. Obviously, we need to make sure once we have paraphrased the sentence that it has the same meaning as the original text. And there may be also some unnecessary information that we don't need to include that we can take out of our paraphrase. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. So this is an example paraphrase from the question. So have a look at this paraphrase and just think about whether this is a good paraphrase or not. Think about the strategies that I've just mentioned as you're doing it. You might want to pause the recording here as well to give you a little bit of time to think. Alright, so I've just highlighted the parts in orange which are different to the original text, and the ones in green are the same. So you can see here that quite a lot has changed, so you might think that makes it a good paraphrase. But I'm going to show you why that's not the case by looking back at these strategies we've just talked about. Okay, so here are the 5 different strategies, and here is our paraphrase. So let's look at the first strategy, which is using synonyms. So I'm going to give a tick for this one because some synonyms have been used. We can see show has been changed to illustrate, today has been changed to now, and both of those are fine. So we can say synonyms have been used. However, the second one is about using appropriate synonyms, and I'm going to show you why perhaps appropriate synonyms haven't always been used. So I'm going to give that a cross. So the reason is there are some words which have been changed which shouldn't have changed, in my opinion. So the word harbour here has been changed to the word port. But port has a more specific meaning than harbour. Port is used to talk about industry, like in Keelung, for example. Harbour just means an area of deep water, maybe where boats are kept. So for me, they're not exactly the same meaning here. Here we've got the word or the numbers to represent the year 2000. And we've got this phrase, the turn of the millennium. Now this does have the same meaning, but for me this is a little bit weird. It's slightly awkward phrasing here. I don't think I would use that phrase. So although it has the same meaning, I don't think it's really necessary to change this year here. I would just keep that the same. We've also got here plans has been changed to pictures. For me, maybe you can get away with that. Maybe the meaning is almost the same. For me, it's not quite the same, so I'm not sure I would change plans to pictures here. Alright, so moving on to the next one. So changing the sentence structure, word order, etc. So again, I don't think this paraphrase has done this very well. If you look at the paraphrase compared to the sentence, you can see that all the changes that have been made are just using synonyms, trying to rephrase certain parts. The structure is exactly the same. So I don't think we can say that's been done successfully. In terms of the next one, the meaning of the original text compared to the paraphrase. So I put a question mark next to this one. So I mentioned about harbour changing to port, which slightly changes in meaning. However, I think the rest of it is kind of clear. So I think the meaning is almost the same, but for me, it's a little bit of a question mark. So I'm not sure I could give it a tick here. And the last one, removing unnecessary information. So I'm going to give this a cross as well. We've got this word below in the question, because obviously on your question sheet, you're going to have the plans below the question. But obviously when you're writing your answer, you're not going to have them below your answer. So there's no need to put this word below or underneath in your paraphrase. You can just delete this word. Alright, so that's an example of a bad paraphrase. So I've crossed that out. I'm going to show you what I think is a better paraphrase. So again, I've just highlighted the parts which have changed, this time in purple, and left the ones which haven't changed in green. So you can see there's actually more green on this example paraphrase than the previous one, but that doesn't mean it's worse. As I said, I obviously think this paraphrase is better. So I'm going to show you why I think this is a better paraphrase using these strategies again. So the first one, using synonyms, is successful because we've got some words which have changed, like plans has been changed to maps, which I think is an appropriate synonym. Show has been changed to depict. Today has been changed to the present day. So I think that's fine. We've also not changed words that don't have a suitable synonym. So we mentioned harbour before, so that's still the same. We mentioned 2000 the year, that's also stayed the same. The next one, changing the sentence structure. So you can see how we've changed the structure here. So instead of saying and how it looks today, we say how Porth Harbour looked in 2000 compared to the present day. So that's a changing of sentence structure and word order. Okay, and we're just going to compare the meaning of the paraphrase to the original. And I think we can say that has the same meaning. We haven't changed it in any way. And we've also removed this word below that I mentioned is not necessary in the paraphrased version. Okay, so I think for all those reasons, this is a much better paraphrase than the previous one I showed you. Alright, so that's how you paraphrase in part 1 of the academic writing test in the IELTS exam. Does that help you a little bit more, Paula? Okay, we're going to say goodbye. Goodbye.